The other day we created a form, and with a static website, we don't have a way to process the form. If we're using a content management system, or if we had a website that was running on something that supported PHP, we could write a script and handle the form without any problem. However, since we don't have either of that, one of the things we have to worry about is how to handle the form, how to do this. And one of the applications that I heard about is called formspree.io. Now, FormSpree is free, of course. Uh, they also have a paid plan, so you can go up and get some benefits to that. But what I thought about was, are there other alternatives out there? Are there things that we can do to do that? So all I did was a quick search. I typed in FormSpree and alternative. Now, of course, if you're a competitor with FormSpree, you're going to be using this as a keyword. So when people, type in alternative FormSpree, your website comes up. I found a couple ideas. I looked at Reddit. Reddit has a list of all these different things that people use: FormKeep, LiveForm, FormBucket, Form Backend. Anyhow, lots of options there. And then the other one I saw that I thought was interesting. I saw this 5 ways to handle forms on your static website. Well, that's perfect because that's what we're wanting to do. Also, I noticed just something when I'm looking at a web page. This is 2 years ago. Doesn't mean it's out of date or invalid. It just means it's 2 years old. This 5 ways to handle a form. A lot of people don't put a date on their post. This person is nice enough to put a date on there. This was posted on June 15th, so it's less than a year old. So a little bit better of a chance of it being still quite valid and pertinent to our what we're talking about. So they have a list. They Google Forms, FormKeep, Netlify, FormSpree, and then FormPlug. Obviously, Google Forms is always an option, but we've seen Google Forms does not necessarily do well. It's not as aesthetically pleasing, let's say. The second option down here is FormKeep, but it is. Let me scroll down through here. They have the goods and the bads. Lots of integration, no free tier. Biggest downside, no free tier. Well, we're all about free. And the next option is Netlify. And biggest downside, only available if you're using Netlify. So we're using GitHub. We're not using Netlify. So that's kind of out. Which leads us down to FormSpree. And basically, all you have to do is add this to your form as an action. And once we do that, it will prompt us for verifying our email address. The downside, of course, is that we only get this information in our email. We don't have a database backup. We don't have any way to pull a CSV off of it. There's lots of downside. But for our purposes, this will work. So I'm going to keep this. Actually, let me go ahead and copy this. So let's get to it. Let's try this out. First things first, go to GitHub. I'm going to go ahead and fetch, create a branch, and I'm going to name this form action, create branch, and I'm going to open up Atom, and I already have the contact page that we created. So I'm just going to scroll down through until we get to the form. And form action, remember I left this blank. I'm going to paste this in. And the email address I'm going to use for this is me@markmace.info. And then I'm going to save that contact. That's it. That is all I'm doing. Let's go back and go to GitHub. You can see that I made one small change. I'm going to update a contact.html. I am going to say using form spree to submit form, and I'm going to commit. I'm going to publish the branch, and then I'm going to create a pull request. And if I was working with other people, I'd maybe want to add a little bit more on this. Hey guys, found a way to do a form from a static website. And I'm going to create the pull request. Since there's nobody else on my team, it's me, myself, and Irene, I'm going to go ahead and merge the pull request. And I'm going to confirm it. Now, when I go to my web page, and I'm going to have to type it in because I still haven't linked everything together. That's my bad. I'm going to go to contact.html, and I'm going to bring up the inspector real quick. And I want to highlight the form as a whole. And you can see that my form, the action has the me at markmace.info. So let's test it out. markmace.info. 740-555-1212. By the way, interesting fact. Anybody gives you 555? Doesn't exist. Preferred contact. I don't want to talk to anybody. I'll say emails and testing form spree for the first time. And then I'm going to click send. Oh, this is really nice. So basically it says, hey, we want to make sure that you're not a robot. So this protects people from getting spam. Check, I'm not a robot. And this form needs activation. We send an email containing active. Okay, awesome. So obviously, whoever's going to be setting something up like this would be doing this they would test the form just like I did. So your end user won't get the same type of message. Let's go ahead and check my email. Make sure I actually gave it the right email address. Me at markmace.info. Okay. And I don't have an email yet. Let me see. Synchronize. Okay, I'll wait a couple minutes. Go back and double check my code. Just make sure I didn't forget anything. One other thing I wanted to talk about on this. Form Sprees uses reCAPTCHA to identify spam submissions. You can also add a honeypot field to your form name. Basically what this will do is it creates most bots would read the form and submit it, and if it's supposed to be blank, they would still fill it in. So it creates a way that bots will automatically fail. So I'm going to go ahead and take a closer look at this because form spree, scroll down through, you add the action, form spree address at email. We've got that part. Include a name attribute on all form elements. So this is important. We have names. Let's go check that real quick and make sure I haven't messed something up. All right. Name, 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 name. Text area, name. Okay, we've got names on everything. We've got that part taken care of. Send and confirm. Submit this form once. The first time user will trigger an email requesting information. Okay, let's check email once again. I still don't have it. Note that we can use an inline style here, but it's best to hide the input with a CSS class. Inline styles should not be used. Since we're waiting on an email, you can see it's still sitting at 8. I am going to highlight this. This sounds like a really good idea. We can craft the email submission, the subject line, so it'll be easier to sort, options like that. And I also want to do this thank you redirect. So I'm going to just copy this, go back over to Atom, and inside my form, since I'm not, this is going to be hidden, and I don't need to basically display it. I'm just going to put it in here at the beginning, and the input type of hidden means that it never displays on the page. That it's a hidden form. While we're here, we might as well take care of the honeypot. I think that will get rid of the CAPTCHA. So that would be just one less step your client has to do. It makes sense to make things easier on them. So let's go back to, and like I said, the honeypot, the idea is that it catches bots. So we're going to go down here, copy this line, and paste it in as well. And as they pointed out, it's always good to use a class instead of an inline style. So we're just going to say class equals hide me. And I'll add that to the style sheet, and that will no longer be displayed. And the one last thing was the thank you redirect. So this is always nice. You don't want to leave them just sitting on the page. This will give you an option to send them to someplace else where you can say, hey, thanks for your submission. We'll get back to you. So once again, hidden field. And then you can just give them the URL of where they need to be going. Since we're using GitHub, this will be HTTPS. I'm going to say, I'm going to copy this out and go back to Atom and paste this in. Now, right now, I don't have a page set up. So let's do that real quick. As before, index is kind of my base go-to. So everything I create, I want to create off of index. I'm going to duplicate. And let's just say thank you.html. And once again, I'm going to go down to this section. The class is no longer going to be main page because this is a thank you page. And I'm going to get rid of everything in this section. And let's just do a real simple H1 thank you. a paragraph that says, thank you for contacting us. If follow-up is needed, we will be in contact as soon as possible. And then close the paragraph tag. This page doesn't have to be anything fantastic. It just has to get that message out. We'll save it. So now we've got more things to commit within our GitHub. Our contact page. So where do I get this URL, right? Well, I know it's going to be thank you. And I know it's going to be the Vico 2162 sample portfolio. So I'm going to take everything up to the contact.html. I'm going to copy that. Go to Adam. And paste it. And put thank you.html. And that should work. I'll save it. I think that's everything. GitHub. A bunch of changes. So added, I almost forgot the CSS. So we created a new class that says hide me. Now this is what I would call a utility class because it's something that you can just throw on and have it apply. It's just a general statement. So I'm going to actually put this all the way up at the top, and let's label it utility classes. If I can type, I'll be okay. And then end of utility classes. So things I might want to put in here is obviously I have the dot hide me, and that's a capital M, and display none. That's all that does. Anytime I use that class, it'll make it so that is a display none. Other ideas for this type of class would be, say, left. And this would be like if you wanted to text align everything left. So text align left. And by default, text align is left, so this is kind of duplicating things. Since we're here, though, we can do left, right, text align right, and finally, center. Now, as I'm typing this, I realize there's an issue with this. These are at the top of the file, which means that they're going to get applied first. Other classes are going to override that. So if I have something that is defined within another class that says text align left, and I have a class of center applied to it, the rule down here is going to override that. So depending on how you want to process this, you might want to consider putting this at the bottom of the CSS instead of at the top. For my purposes, I'm going to leave it at the top because if I specify text align in a class, I'm going to want that to win. And I still haven't got an email, which kind of worries me a little bit. Let's go ahead and... So thank you, I did not save that. Back to GitHub. So I've got CSS, I've got contact, I've got a new created updating form. Updated form with honeypot and thank you page. Commit form action, create a pull request. Of course, I made any changes, so I need to do these. And create pull request, merge, confirm merge, and we should be good to go. I'm going to go back to the web page, do a refresh. Whoops, clicked on the wrong thing. Refresh. Now, Notice I don't see any difference in the form, but if I actually look at the form itself, I have hidden, oh, and I have the class hide me and this gotcha. Notice that I can't see where it's at. Okay. Ooh, yeah. Wait a minute. It is hide me. Hide me. Oh, for crying out loud. All right. I thought I saved that. Save. I'm going to get a lot of practice in with this branch editing, all that fun stuff. All right. GitHub. Corrected last name. Form. This time I'll post first. And then create request. Lowercase typo. And create request. Merge. Confirm. And so back to our web page. Hit refresh. So I'm not real sure why this isn't applying. I'm going to go look at sources real quick. Look at the style.css. Okay, it's still showing as .hide me lowercase. Shift refresh. Okay, it just wasn't loading the CSS all the way. Now that doesn't display. All right, let's test the form again. Click on send. By clicking on, okay, so it's still checking, it's not picking up the honey box. And it's saying that this is form. It still needs to be sent. I'm not seeing an email. Synchronize. Checking. I'm going to click resend activation. And spam. So this got moved into my spam folder for some reason. Let's go ahead and click on activate form. Form activated. Okay, awesome. Now I've got 2 more emails, and both of these, so the first one is the submitted form, and I don't know why the first one went into the spam but the second one didn't. No idea. So let's go ahead and run through this one more time just to make sure that the form is working as expected. Now remember what it was. You see, because we have stuff. Go back here. It was not. Let's click on back here a couple times, and we got our form again. Since I click back, it still shows all the information on the form. The cancel button doesn't actually cancel it. What it does is clear everything. So if I click on cancel, all my information will be gone. I don't want to have to retype everything. Take 2 after activation. All right. Click send. It still does the I'm not a robot. It's an annoyance. It's a better thing though. It gives, as an end user, it would give me more confidence that I'm not sending it to just some random thing. And for you as a person that's going to be receiving those emails, it's going to be better because you're going to reduce the amount of spam you get. It took me back to the thank you page. Thank you for contacting us. If follow is needed. Okay, I've got a typo, but that's for another day. I've already committed everything in GitHub. I've put everything up. I've fetched, pulled, merged, crunched, everything else. But that's all. As I look at the timer and it says about 30 minutes, that's all that's needed to send your form. This will be shortened up because there's some spot in there in the middle where I'm waiting for emails. So thanks for watching. Have a wonderful weekend.